Wow. 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 Okay. Dope. We are back, and it's been nearly 2 months since the last Behind the Pads. I posted several videos, most of them being performance-based or some kind of, edit from one of my Twitch streams. So before we get started, if you don't already, make sure you follow me on Twitch. The link is below in the bio. And I'm not going to take up too much time. Let's just get right into it.
Yeah.
Behind the Pads, Season 2, Episode 9. It has been a crazy few months. I'm not going to lie. I say this in every video, and that's why there's a few months between each one like this. But today, I'm finally, or I should say tonight, I'm finally just going to do a quick breakdown of my live stream setup, because this has probably become one of the most asked questions, and I feel like, now I think for the most part, aside from a few hiccups I ran into recently, which I'll explain later in the video, but for the most part, I am really, really, really happy with the setup right now. I've gotten it to become, a multicam setup from a single camera source with, different scenes and transitions and all of that stuff. So I guess the most basic question I get asked is how I actually get my audio to the camera or to the stream. And I'm going to go through just quickly the audio routing and then get into the camera setups, because we got the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 4K, and then we got the Sony a6400, GoPro Hero 5, and then I have an iPhone plugged into my fourth HDMI channel just to show you quickly around the way the unit's plugged in. So the way the audio is actually run, and if you've been watching my Twitch streams recently, most of the music I'm making is on the Machine Plus. So because it's standalone, I do my best to still make it the sort of like the centerpiece of the setup. So everything kind of that I want to sample routes into here, and everything gets routed on the output through the SPs. So in its simplest form, and I hope this video makes sense. I'm doing this off the cuff here, just kind of looking at my setup and going like, what should I talk about here? So with the machine, we go, the way I started it actually is, I'll go overhead view here. This whole record player setup, obviously routing into the Z2, and from this mixer, that's what this computer is right now. That's the interface that the computer is running, is the Z2 here. So the way I have that run is going from the mixer, I can kind of sample anything I want into that. And like, I'll go back to the overhead cam real quick, because I've got my Polo drawer here, OP1, OPZ. Both of those are routed into, well, this isn't right now, but both of those are typically routed in here, or I'll just swap the cable out. But basically, I try to do all my sampling. If I'm going to go into Machine and I want to sample a record, or from YouTube, or from the internet, or even when I'm sourcing samples from TrackLib, instead of just bringing the whole sample into the Machine Plus, I'll actually just sample it from the computer and kind of, I know it's backwards because it's a Machine Plus, but I'm still in a very, although small, it's still a studio setup. So I still have my computer next to me, regardless of it being standalone. I'll play the sample off here, sample it into here, and from the machine, we go into the SP404SX, literally just from the main out into the line in. The Z2 is plugged in to the line inputs. I just have the monitor on my sample mode set to on from the external source. And then let's see if I play a sample here. We'll play this. Okay, cool. So you can see that the signal's coming in here. And, you know, I've talked about this before, but I love using the SP for effects. I love using it for launching tracks if I want to just switch it up and switch up the vibe like that. And then the thing with the SP now is that I've got it routing out, and I'm adding a lot of noise into my... You might also notice, I should make a note on this because I've had people bring it up too many times. Right now, I'm in a living room, the heating's going, there's fan and room noise, so I have my mic running through Ableton, and it's got a gate on it, so you might hear the noise come in and out and stuff. But as far as the audio from the machine and the SP setup, excuse me, there's still a lot of noise because we're talking about like going out of the machine into the SP and then into a 303 here. So the 303 is really just to mess around with on the final output. And if we look at it like this, so regardless of if I have the machine running from the computer, like if we're talking about like, you know, actually using, like I have machine open here, but it's not connected to the computer at all. But say we're using it not standalone, just in controller mode, it still works the same in my setup here. So I try my best to just treat this whole setup right here, minus this machine, and I'll explain why in a second. But I try to treat this whole setup right here like one singular stereo instrument. So the reason I say that is everything that's coming out of my musical equipment is coming out of one stereo track. My vocals are on one mono track, and that is all this computer, everything included, is one instrument running into my stream computer. So the stream computer is another iMac, old iMac, it's 2011, but it works really well for the most part. You know, there are a few things I wish I could do on it that I can't, but for the most part, it works really well. And I just have a few applications open on this iMac, one of them being Ableton to run just a stereo audio track for this big instrument. And the other one is my vocal audio track. And then the third channel is my effects track. So I have these effects in here. They might be crazy loud right now, but let's just see. Okay, cool, not too bad. Have to have the siren in there. One for Dilla. Let's go. So this has kind of become my little like effects unit too, so that when I'm performing, if you've watched my Twitch streams before, I've started to not like talking without chorus on my voice for some reason, but today, just for my YouTube fam here, we're just gonna keep it clean, you know? But typically I'll have my chorus on, and then if I'm playing and I want delay or maybe like a reverb freeze, you know, other delays, and then the soundboard. And yes, I could technically use my Stream Deck as a soundboard and probably map it to all my effects in Ableton, but I have yet to figure that out. So maybe we'll do another video on that once I kind of sort it out. I'm still learning this thing. I'm still learning. I can't even talk anymore. I'm still learning how to talk, but I'm still learning everything. I will forever be a student. So let's just make that clear. This is a video just explaining my setup and the way I use it. It's not to say you have to do it this way, but it works really well for me. Some things might seem redundant, but like I said, it works really well for me. So right now, if we were to look at a typical stream for me, I'm never leaving this space, you know? So I try to make my signal flow as straight up as I can. You know, I don't want to have to route too many things within the computer, and I know that you can with Ladiocast and using Soundflower and a bunch of all these other programs, and those work really well, but I'm in a fortunate position to have this older iMac and kind of allow me to separate the workstation from the stream station. So then it becomes a dream station. So I forgot my chorus is on. I get so used to talking with this, but we'll turn it off now. Oh, see, this is what I mean. Now I feel like I'm all right here. So with that all being said, the audio, super simple routing. It may look complicated if you're not used to seeing the gear, but super simple routing, because at the end of the day, if you just think about it as one stereo signal going into Ableton, vocals, mono, and then soundboard. Moving on to the camera and the whole camera setup and layout of that, because I think this is the part that has taken me probably the longest to really figure out, because it's kind of complicated. Like, if it's something you've never done before, going back now like 6 months, I've been streaming on Twitch and Reddit, and I feel like 6 months ago, you know, I was just using my iPhone, and like, it was fine, you know, like, at the end of the day, if that's what you have, use what you have. And I used what I had, figured out a few different options, and then I eventually got my hands on a few very key pieces of gear that I think really changed my setup. And obviously, one being the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 4K, which is an amazing camera. You definitely, for me at least, it took some learning, you know, like, because it wasn't just like an iPhone and putting it up and, you know, it typically just looks fine. You know, it's got some processing in it, but I went in and I learned about LUTs and how to actually properly set my ISO for the lighting, and learning about f-stops and all these little things that I never really understood the terminology, you know, and why they were there. I kind of knew what they did in some way, but all these little things helped me to, and I'm, like I said, I'm still a student. I feel like I'm still, every time I learn something new about my setup, and I'm like, oh damn, I could probably do it like this instead. But major key piece of gear, upgrade on the camera. And then another major key piece of gear was the A10 Mini Pro production switcher. I think is the technical term. So I'm going to just switch over to this iPhone. The image crops weird because I'm sending, I guess, a higher signal from the three better cameras. For whatever reason, the iPhone just outputs 720, I think, and it's a cropped frame. But you can see it switch over now. Okay, so like this. Y'all see this? Y'all see this in front of me? Okay, this is my stream setup here, my stream computer, and this is the A10 Mini Pro that I was talking about. There's these cool reticles, is that what they're called? This is out of focus, but that's the A10 Mini Pro, and the way I have it set up is I actually have it, you can use these buttons to switch the cameras. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 being my Blackmagic, 2 being the Sony, 3 being the GoPro, and 4 being this iPhone, which is actually typically this computer, because I feel like, you know, sometimes when we're sampling from YouTube, or even if I'm using Machine on here and I want to just show something on my screen, that's what we're using. So back to this. The way I have it routed right now between the A10 Mini and the Stream Deck is I actually set up a few macros so that I can make these switches on the camera right in front of me, along with a bunch of other things like some GIFs that I have set up and all that. The Stream Deck right now has these camera macros set up, so I can switch, and you can see that it, oh wait, you can't, I'm holding this phone, I'm like, you can see this. If I switch back, you can see that transition happen. I think you were able to see it. And I have my computer here set in performance mode just so that it's actually recording 30 frames a second. Otherwise, it records like kind of like 22, 23 because it's processing it for whatever reason. But right now, we are in performance mode, so I don't see a preview of the video. And I have to just make sure that I'm on the right camera but it tells me right here. Tells me right here in the ATEM software control, which is amazing. I mean, the ATEM software control works really well if you've got a bunch of Blackmagic cams. Right now, I'm using it for my Blackmagic and actually setting the temperature here. I can change the kind of color correct it here and do a little bit of editing there if I need to. Ow. And then I just smashed my elbow. And then I have this like Stream Deck configuration station, and then my live setup here. It looks like I have more audio tracks than I said to you, but active audio tracks, I've only got 3. The others are just set up there in case, just for some other things. But as you can see, pretty straightforward otherwise. And what I was going to say is the hiccup I ran into recently is, I'm just going to keep us on this camera for now. And the hiccup I ran into recently was my Motu 896 interface had died just randomly. So I had to swap out for this complete Audio 6 from Native Instruments and just using my Mackie 2-channel mixer so I could actually use the stereo input for the DI. I mean, it's pretty dark there, but so I could use the stereo input of the DI so that this is all got a ground lift, and then the line input from the mixer itself. So I can actually have a bit of like an analog mixer, which honestly, it's interesting because this turned out to be a really, really great little setup. And I'm realizing that I probably don't need the Motu 896 HD that I had. So, okay, actually, before I switch back on the camera, there's the Blackmagic. You can kind of see it over there. Let's see if I can just, oh my God, I've had these reticles on, haven't I? Whatever. Okay, so check this out. Here we go. Whatever. We're having fun here, y'all. Okay, there's the Blackmagic. Boom, put it in focus. And then there's the A6400. And then, as you know, there's the GoPro on a C-stand. And I got it tucked back there. I love when stuff just fits so perfectly. But I've got that running. There's this, my homemade, sweet, still not finished, stained whole record shelf thing that I made. But yeah, so it's pretty cool that it all runs on a pretty tight, small setup, like, let's switch back to this camera now that I've had these. What am I doing? Okay. So, the lighting. The lighting is another big one. I'm going to have to switch back to this one. Nah, we don't need to. The lighting. There was a video that I'm going to link below that one of my best friends, SASHA Appler Film, amazing, talented videographer. If you don't already and you're interested in learning about anything to do with video editing, documentary filmmaking, tips on how to stay motivated and get back into doing your task list, just general amazing channel. And the quality, mark my words, if you go check this channel out, please comment below and tell me how right I was with how insane the quality is. I'm going to link his channel below. Absolutely insane quality. But he came over a few months ago and really did an overhaul on my setup as far as the lighting goes. The lighting is so key. And I'm still kind of figuring it out because, as you can tell, I'm in a pretty tight space here. Like when I go back to the GoPro here, you can see that I'm just like, I don't have a lot of room here. I smash my elbow off this pretty often. Like during the pandemic, really minimize my space. I love having the setup here. I'm thankful that my partner is super supportive because I'm taking up so much of this space right now. And by so much, I mean a third. Let's keep that clear. Okay, moving on. The lighting. Moving back to the lighting, not moving on, but back to the lighting. SASHA came over and looked at my setup and was like, dude, you have way too many lights for what you're trying to achieve. And I had these like, a good homie of mine, Mike Melee, amazing DJ as well. I had these two crazy like show lights, you know, like he had like a bunch of production lights. So I had one up above the camera blasting the back wall. I had another one blasting the white wall in front of me to get like a reflection, and then another light behind me, this like makeshift softbox. And I think in total I had 5 lights maybe. And now I'm using a total of 3 lights, and I can really even just get it down to 2 lights, but I like having this accent light back here. It's kind of nice. I have control of the color of it as well. But we have the softbox right above me, and the closer I can get it to me, the more focused it is on me. That way, it kind of allows me to still have that separation from the background. And then the other hidden light I have is this one down here, aperture. Oh wait, let me unplug it so that I can actually lift it up, because it's a amazing light. No affiliation with them, but holy crap, is that an amazing light. That thing was a game changer. So that thing, I can do any color on it. It's an RGB W light, so I guess that performs better with multiple cameras and making it so that there's no weird flicker or anything like that. But between these 3 lights, it's allowed me, and then like I like putting some visuals on the TV. I kept them to a minimum tonight just so it's not you know, taking over the visuals of what we're talking about here. But I like putting visuals on the TV. Kind of gives it a different, you know, a little bit of a different element and vibe. But I think for the most part, you know, like I think I got everything covered. A6400 switch again. But yeah, I should have mentioned actually too, because I'm just looking at this monitor here, and the monitor I have in front of me is actually connected to the iMac. So this is just my stream computer setup. I set it up in front of me because I hated when I was streaming and say I wanted to just read the chat, even though it makes my eyes look like they're sleeping sometimes because I'm looking down. I just liked it better than having the chat here where I was like playing and constantly looking at it this way. This way I feel like I'm actually kind of engaging more, even though I'm not necessarily looking at the camera all the time. I feel like, you know, this setup took me a while. I'm not gonna lie, it took me a while, but like I said, those few upgrades like the A10 Mini Pro, the camera, the Blackmagic 4K were like the first 2 major upgrades I did, and those completely inspired me to want to like go even further in it. You know, I'm like, well, now I got 4 channels I can switch through for cameras, and that in itself inspired me to want to do the turntable setup, so that anytime I start my streams, I start with just a few records and I spin some records. I am no DJ. I am not a DJ. I can't mix and scratch, but I love playing good music, so it's so fun to start the streams on that angle and then switch to this one or switch to this one. And I love playing around with the transitions on the A10 Mini Pro because it's actually got some crazy transitions that you can do right then and there, you know what I mean? So to make sure, there we go, yes. Like I said at the beginning, this is by no means like to say this is like a perfect setup or anything, but I've definitely tried my best to, you know, I'm saying not overcomplicate, but it's certainly got a lot of moving parts. And, you know, if you're trying to get into streaming, I gotta like reiterate how much, and I know I haven't said it yet in this video, but to not get discouraged by, you know, a few failed attempts at streaming, because I definitely did, and I stopped for like 6 months before I really started up on Twitch again, which was now 6 months ago. But for the first half of that year, I really didn't, you know, put enough effort into it, because there were just so many times where I would launch the stream and, you know, people would be like, the audio's out of sync, or just like the video's not working, or it's glitchy. And there are so many moving parts to having a fluid stream, and internet, a direct Ethernet connection is a huge one. And I didn't even mention that with the ATEM, like you can stream directly from it. You don't even need a computer once you have it set up and have your Twitch logged in. But because I use Streamlabs, I have to just use it as a capture card instead of its own standalone streamer. But how many times I'm going to say but? So the reality is, like, yes, there's a ton of moving parts, but at the end of the day, if you have decent enough internet connection, even an iPhone, you could go from an iPhone, and I highly, highly, highly suggest buying an actual iPhone, like Apple HDMI lightning port dongle. And the only reason I say that is because I bought a few, like, of the cheaper brand or cheaper made ones off Amazon, and none of them had quite the quality that this one did. Even though, I mean, we're comparing that iPhone to two very powerful cameras, this thing was just so much better. So if you're going to go the iPhone route, I do highly suggest doing this and getting even one of these, a cheap capture card. This was $25 on Amazon, and it was a great option if you're just starting out streaming. You could literally do this dongle with this HDMI to USB capture card, and it was sometimes finicky, but you get what you pay for. You know, it was $20. But with these two, your iPhone and an HDMI cable, you plug your iPhone in to get the power, and yeah, I missed one major key component of the audio. Oh my god. It's cool though. It's cool. We'll talk about it before we end this video. Apologies for how long this video was too. I'm probably going to leave a lot of it unedited, so apologies. So, the audio at the end of the day, because the Complete Audio 6 has 2 headphone outputs, that is the major key as to why I don't have to run like Ladiocast or anything like that, because I have a headphone line for my own headphones. So I'm hearing the mix that you guys are hearing right now, and the other headphone is sending directly to the Blackmagic. And then the audio is actually being sent out of the HDMI running through the ATEM, and that's my selected input audio source on Streamlabs, and voila. Perfect audio, in sync all the time. There's only been a few times where it's fallen out of sync, and it might be because I have a few too many things open, or if I'm trying to stream to Reddit as well, which, you know, when you're multicasting, it's just processing even more. Yeah, I think that's all. I'm just going to keep saying I think that's all. I'm sure this is the first of many kind of like studio breakdown videos. You know, inadvertently, I kind of just gave you a bit of a run through of my very small home living room studio setup that's extremely functional, a little bit overkill at times, but you know, I can't wait to have my basement space finished again. We're actually building a room down there, so it's going to be a little while, but I'll be able to have my drum kit set up again and get back into sampling some live instruments. But for now, I kind of just like tried to hone everything into a very small, streamlined setup, you know, and it works. It works really well. So if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask below. I'll do my best in answering them. If it's something I feel like we could address in another video, I am definitely down to talk about my Streamlabs and full-on Twitch live stream setup as far as the computer aspect of it goes, but everyone's is going to be different. That's something that I learned through watching a ton of YouTube tutorials on how to set up Streamlabs to function properly, but you know, it's all dependent on your internet connection, your camera choice, your capture card, your HDMI cables to your processing power, and so on and so forth. So it's a never-ending battle, but I fully encourage you to get into it, if you're a producer, musician, an artist in any way, I highly, highly, highly recommend streaming to Twitch, or if you're comfortable streaming to YouTube for whatever reason. Every time I try to stream to YouTube, some kind of glitch has started happening recently. And now that I have Twitch pretty much ironed out, I'm going to keep posting my videos to YouTube and treat Twitch as my live stream sort of avenue there. And yeah, like I said, I mean, I don't want to be constantly promoting my Twitch here on YouTube, but if you are interested in, you know, just seeing some live processes of how I'm making beats right now and what's going on, and just connecting with the community there, which is an amazing community. I can't talk more highly about it. Always amazing people that pull up there. So it's really cool. But what I wanted to say was, I highly encourage you as a musician, artist, whatever you might do, even if it's gaming, you know, like whatever it is, Twitch is crazy, and it's super fun platform. I love the engagement. It was confusing at first with how, you know, there's like all these achievements within, you know, your analytics, but then there's also, you know, some amazing, you know, like channel points and just little emotes and GIFs that you can pop up and just make it more interactive that way, and it becomes a much more engaging, fun time. And for you as an artist, it's just another great place to diversify your income if you're able to put enough time into it. You know, I truly believe in that saying of like, what you give is what you get. So I certainly am not giving enough on my YouTube, and I definitely feel that lately. But I'm going to do my best to start posting some more videos here, and you know, just to stay up with it a little bit more. But like I said, if you got questions, drop them below. As per usual, y'all know Rare Sounds World is the family, so make sure you follow that playlist link below. So many new releases on the way. Please check my Bandcamp. I dropped like 3 beat tapes, a few Christmas tapes that will be playable for the entire year. I just dropped my Love Sessions beat tape. All of them are live performance beat tapes that I made entirely on Twitch streams. So make sure you check those out if you feel like supporting. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it, you know? With all that being said, truly appreciate you coming back again. I can't say it enough. Until next time, which I hope is way sooner than later, peace and love.